This is going to be pretty much, if I can stand this fucker upright. Okay, there we go. This is pretty much going to be my response. I apologize for having taken so long. I've had a couple of discussions on a video I made maybe a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, where I was discussing why I'm not a natalist, and pretty much I've been in constant discussion here with Mymiseryandme, which has proved to be a pretty good, actually pretty beneficial discussion. In this last one, he he has responded to me twice, and I responded to him once. In this, it has taken me a little while to get back to you, but I would like to just pretty much discuss right now the two things that I really got that was very, very important from what you were saying in your last video. And pretty much what I would like to be saying here is that I pretty much, after a lot of thought that I've been doing on this very subject, that it happens to be that if you are an atheist and if you do not believe in a deity or deities, then it's true that there's no grounds for any purpose in this world. There's no grounds for any there's no grounds for any kind of inherent morality in the world or any kind of thing like that, and that has to come from, you know, the intelligent beings of a sort. So atheism pretty much is going to mean that there's nothing here, that there's no purpose here. So I have to agree with you now, after a lot of thought. Atheism pretty much is going to entail antinatalism. You know, there's ways to cope with all the suffering and all this stuff in this world in your life, but it just is not worth bringing. If given the atheist proposition is true, that there's no God in this world, that means there's no purpose here. There's no meaning in this world at all whatsoever. There's absolutely no reason to bring. There's absolutely no reason to bring another sentient being here. So I have one thing that I would like to say, which would be possibly one reason why I might, if I was an atheist, bring a child here, but that is not something that would ever happen because it's kind of a long shot to where it would be very difficult for that to be applied and for that to actually happen in this world. First of all, what you were saying in that video, where I was talking about where if I had kids, I would pass on to them my method of how I live of how I manage suffering in my life. My method, I would pass on to my kids where I choose to have any. And your response to that would be like that your children will be different people, and thus they will have different psychologies, and it could very well be, I'm not you, this doesn't work for me. That's all good for you. That may work for you, but it doesn't work for me. Excuse me. It may work for you, but it just does not work for me at all. So that is just the issue of the fact that there are different psychologies in this world of various people. There's different there's different kinds of sets of minds that work differently and function differently. And the second thing that you were saying, to where the question is if there is a method, any kind of method that could be applied to manage suffering, how much suffering could any such method manage? Because you were talking about people who have debilitating diseases, or who get limbs blown off or such, and get these painful disorders or have painful injuries and such, which just are such painful things that ordinary people don't really understand. We're not. I'm obviously not going to understand what it's like to be in Iraq and happen upon a insurgent bomb and have my legs blown off. There's no way I could possibly really understand that. So I think that this kind of comes out to the problem of, can pain can emotional pain and the feeling of pain to where I slap myself or somebody slaps me, can I communicate that pain to somebody else? That kind of is a big discussion with respect to Wittgenstein's private language argument, but that's another big longer discussion as to whether I can communicate pain between you and me. If I get, say, if I do get my legs blown off in a war and you don't, can I communicate my pain effectively to you? Can I communicate that to you? And I would say that the answer would pretty much be no. We all have things as human, mortal, vulnerable beings. We all have things in common which we can have empathy with each other about. I can have empathy with you about being vulnerable and about being mortal. So that kind of brings all of humanity together. But these methods of how I were to manage suffering in my life would not work for somebody who gets their leg blown off and has immense pain from that, and has even more pain because they can't do things that they have done previously. I cannot understand that because I haven't experienced that. So I personally, especially, a method that I'm using obviously cannot work for a person who's had that happen to them, especially even further if they have a different psychology from me. So these two things together pretty much are a good argument. You've made a very good argument as to why, given an atheism, given persons being an atheist, or given atheism being, or given the premises of atheism being proven true, there's no reason to procreate and bring children into this meaningless world. Now, I am a theist, and I do believe that there is some inherent meaning and purpose in this world, but given atheism, and given, let's say that, atheist premises turning out to be true, there is no purpose, no meaning here, and there's no meaning to bringing children here to suffer, wherein this suffering is meaningless, and there's no reason for it. So that is pretty much my discussion on that, and which is pretty much why I believe that, or why I'm pretty much agreeing with you that given a person's atheism, or given premises of atheism being proven true, there's no reason to bring children here. The only way that there would be, if I was atheist, like, pretty much what I want to do in my life is I want to help people. I want to help people deal with their sufferings. I mean, I have various ways I want to do that, but that's a different discussion. But that's what I would like to do in one way or another in my life. And given my theism or atheism, I would be doing that. And pretty much what I would be going for is for circles of people, for, like, let's say we have a group of people who have had limbs blown off in wars and have all these pains like that, where if that happens to somebody else, they do have a circle of people to where they can go to where there is a group of people there is a group of people who understand that and have methods of how to deal with that and how to manage this kind of suffering. and we could possibly have these little groups of people all over the world. I mean, with social media and such, it doesn't matter where you are. You can pretty much talk to anybody if you wanted to. This is a possible outlook. It's possible to where we have a group of people who have had limbs blown off, and who had a really productive life beforehand, and now don't because of this debilitating injury. We could have a group of people who have had cancer and now can't do things and have pains from chemo and such. Where, let's say, we have this group, and then if somebody does get cancer, they can go to this group to talk to them, to talk to a group of people who have had that or do have that, to learn about methods of how to manage that. But this is the only possible way in this world that this is the only possible way that it might be okay, given an atheist world, to bring a child into the world, because your child having certain sufferings could contribute to these little groups that we have, which would where my child having had certain sufferings would contribute to the world of suffering management. That's the only possible outlook, but that could never ever happen ever. It's just not a possible outlook. Whether I mean, it could be possible. It's probably a little bit more possible in the in among theists, because I think it might happen more. But it just is not the way the world is. It's not that possible. I mean, it's possible, but it's just not. It's not likely. So this is pretty much why I'm conceding and saying why I totally kind of agree with you that 99% of the time, given an atheist person, or given atheist premises in the world being proven true, there's no reason to bring children here whatsoever.